It was a long time coming. It came down to a couple of blue bloods, but there he is. Big Cliff commits to Alabama over the weekend. And the biggest takeaway for me is not only is he what Alabama, the missing piece, Jeff Goodman calls him Bediako 2.0.
His numbers are better than Bediako's.
Yeah, but that's what Goodman calls him. Was that according to Tipton and others who cover the sport, he turned down a $2 million NIL offer. I assume that was $1 million a year over 2 years, but a $2 million NIL offer from another school to come to Alabama for less NIL money.
Yeah, but I wonder what that money was. And look, this guy has been an elite defender for the last 3 years in the Big Ten with Rutgers. And if you go to ESPN.com's men's basketball homepage, top headline with him like featured in the middle, 2024-2025 transfer tracker, Alabama lands elite defender Cliff Omoruyi. And so it goes in and gives a little story on him. And, I mean, this is exactly what Alabama needed. They needed a really good defender. They needed a big. They needed a rim protector, and they got it all with Omoruyi.
You know, it's interesting and I'm going to pull up Jeff Goodman's tweet here.
That's a terrible nickname, by the way.
What, the Clifford the Big Red Dog?
Yeah.
You think he's good with that, or is it?
Yeah. He probably doesn't care,
Alabama seems to have embraced it.
Well, he was coming from Rutgers. And
right, they're red.
They're red. They're scarlet.
Alabama's crimson.
Yeah.
Does that work?
He can still be a shade of red.
Yeah.
Clifford just seemed bigger, aloof, more of a, I don't know. I don't know what big I would put him at.
He was a puppy first. He was big, oversized puppy. But he's a giant in the middle.
Yeah, but he was really, he was a nice dog, right?
Oh, he licked everybody. Caused problems sometimes. He'd lick you so hard that he would throw the ice cream truck off the beach.
Yeah. And there was actually an ice cream truck on the beach this weekend. Did
was
you guys
it
see
really?
That?
I missed that.
Well,
I never went to the beach.
It was a guy, which seems like it would be a pain in the ass, like the old school cooler before they got the Yetis, the collapsible that you could carry. You remember dragging one of those things with wheels?
Yeah.
Well, this guy was pushing an ice cream cart. Yeah. It was a big-ass ice cream cart,
but if that thing costs $25 and he's selling them for $4, it's worth the drag, right?
That's a hard way. Yeah. Easier ways, you get tow people down there. Easier ways to make money.
Hey, so Jeff Goodman tweeted that Jeff Goodman tweeted there are a few college hoop programs right now that could still get players even without being one of the highest NIL bidders. And as Scott is showing you, here are the three programs he mentions: UConn, Baylor, Alabama. I'm going to need somebody, perhaps Jeff, to explain this one to me.
Jeff Goodman, Goodman Hoops, Field of 68. There are a few college hoop programs right now that can still get players even without being one of the hihighest NIL bidders.
Okay, here's what I would say about UConn. You got a back-to-back national champion.
That one makes sense. I'm okay with that. And, I mean, you feel like you're going to win a national championship there. You're playing elite level basketball. Dan Hurley's obviously a very good coach.
Alabama, and this is just me guessing, the style of play, all kids want to play that style.
All right. I'm not arguing. Obviously, I'm not arguing with Jeff.
Scott Drew plays a similar style, and this is a guy that has won a national championship, and maybe Baylor has some of the best basketball facilities out there. We heard years ago they had better football facilities in Texas.
They did. They had better football facilities than most of the Big 12. But then when I was, that's what Chip Brown told us. It was like best football facilities of the Big 12, Baylor. And then I was out there.
That Scott Drew didn't leave Baylor. He could have gone to Kentucky.
True. Yep. Right. And I was out there, and I saw their facilities. They didn't blow me away, but I think that's a commentary on the rest of the Big 12.
Nate Oats could have, too, gone to Kentucky.
But, I mean, and again, I am not arguing.
Dan Hurley could have gone to Kentucky. All those people could have gone to Kentucky.
And I'm not saying that, obviously, I guess what I'm saying is I just need to know why this is the case. I'm not saying that it isn't the case, that Alabama isn't in that group.
If there was a day you saw Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, you'd be like,
makes sense.
Well, I'll give you three. Proven path to the NBA style of play, right? You're playing an NBA style of play for
Alabama.
Nate
Oats has put guys in the NBA, yes.
Good NIL money, but a great team around you.
Okay.
In this case, for Cliff or anybody else who signed this year. And you're buying the future. You could be a part of something that has never been done before to win a championship. It's old hat at UConn.
Yeah, and I wonder how appealing that even is
I
to
don't
a kid.
know. It would be appealing for us at our age, and that sounds really cool. But for those guys, who knows?
I don't know that that's appealing to a kid, but maybe it is.
Well, I mean, if you walk in, you look around the roster. I mean, when Cam Newton chose Auburn back in the day, he looked at Mississippi State's roster, he looked at Auburn's roster, and he goes,
Well, yeah,
I can win a championship at Auburn.
can.
You look at UConn right now. You look at Baylor right now. You look at Alabama right now.
I'm just saying, you don't have the Dukes and the North Carolinas and the Kansases on there. That's what was interesting to me is why it's those three schools.
Well, it's without the biggest NIL money. I think.
Yeah,
I
mean, you would think those schools could probably be a little bit chintzy on the NIL money.
Well, I mean, North Carolina apparently is the school, according to, if you believe people on the internet, there's no confirmation of this, but they believe North Carolina was the $2 million
Yeah, but
offer.
I don't understand why they're not in a group where they really don't even have to do that, like Goodman is saying. I mean,
because
you would
got
think.
Hubert Davis is your head coach, and I really don't know what you get with Hubert. but for Omoruyi to go to Alabama, I kind of get it. Would you rather play for Nate and his style or Hubert? And some North Carolina fans are going to get after it, and there's plenty of them in the chat room. So they played for a national championship in year one. They completely missed the tournament. They underachieved as a one this year. So I don't know what you get with Hubert Davis. I mean, obviously, it is one of the most iconic brands out there, and it's one of the top three programs all time in college basketball.
I mean, it's wild to see Alabama in that basketball discussion. Like if the football equivalent, Chris Lowe, had tweeted that there are 3 football schools that really don't have to go heavy on the NIL to get players. They are Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. I'm like, yeah, that fits.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? I mean,
I guess what I'm saying, Brown, and I'm doing a bad job of saying this, is I don't think those programs in football and then the ones you're mentioning in basketball will ever get outbid. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think they
won't.
could, because of their reputation, pay less because you get a chance to play for a blue blood. But I don't think they ever let it get to that. Like,
maybe that's what Jeff is saying. I don't know.
Where are you on NIL? Okay, we can beat that.
Maybe that's what he's saying. That's not the way I read that, but maybe that's what he's saying.
There was always that narrative, and a lot of it was proven, that Pitino, Calipari, they would go out and they would pay their players. And, for a moment in time, it was Mike Krzyzewski doesn't have to do that at Duke. Duke recruits itself. Right. They don't have to pay. They can do everything above board. I don't know if that was true. It seemed like it was at the time.
Never believed it.
Probably wasn't.
Yeah, just like I never believed Notre Dame never cheated either.
Yeah, I mean, that was always what blew me away before NIL era, is when your school was consistently in the top 5 and you were the only one that did it clean. I'm like,
right. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
I know, but
we're always in the top 5 in recruiting. Everybody else around us is cheating, but we're doing it the right way.
Like you started off saying, $2 million offers is what is being discussed out there by Joe Tipton and those. He went to Alabama for less money. The key is how much less money.
Yeah, right? I mean, it could be 1.5, right?
Did he have $1.8 million? Yeah. That is less money than 2.4. That's still a lot of money.
And do you bring in a financial guy that says this 1.5 in Tuscaloosa
That's right.
compared to the 2 in Chapel Hill?
Cost of living, my man.
This is the way it's going to
give you a
balance
1.5 NIL here. Here is a $5,000 voucher to Innisfree, $5,000 voucher here.
Taco Mama.
Yeah.
You can
some
get
next
creative.
round gear. Yeah. I mean, just all sorts of stuff.
I love it. Next round gear.
I'm in. Well, we got a big sale coming up this week. We're going to tell you about in the next round store.
Don't you think, though, there was a time, maybe back in the mid-'90s, where you had a dad and his son, and he's like, you can get a Duke education, and I don't really care if somebody's going to pay us $50,000 for you to play there this year. You're going to Duke. You're going to win a championship, get an education, play in the NBA.
Yeah.
Maybe a dad.
Again, this me being naive.
You said, is there a dad? Maybe there was a dad that did that.
People used to tell us that about Notre Dame, too, when I was a kid growing up. They don't have to do it like the Southern schools or USC. They don't have to go out and buy their players. It's Notre Dame. People will pay to come there.
I mean, we found out later on John Wooden had a huge bag man out at UCLA, and that was what frustrated a lot of coaches about John Wooden, was he got painted to this guy that did everything the right way, and they're like, oh, he's cheating too. He's able to separate it from himself, so he's not the one that's getting popped.
Yeah. We all knew that Wooden's pyramid was a pyramid scheme. It wasn't just a wooden pyramid. All right, so Alabama gets the big guy. The question now becomes Mark Sears, who graduated on Saturday. Chad Sears, his dad, who Little T and I had a chance to spend some time with out at the Final Four, sends this tweet out. It's 50-50 according to the folks at Field of 68, whether Mark's coming back or not. So this tweet from Chad doesn't really help you. It stays 50-50. His tweet is, thank God for an awesome weekend. God is good. Roll Tide roll. Family time. Combine invite. Mark got invited to the NBA Combine, which is a big get. That keeps him in the conversation.
A lot of guys are invited, though.
Yeah, but it also gets you in front of NBA people that can really, really be honest.
Right. Only takes one team.
Yep.
Graduation. Mark got his degree. And then the last one, Cliff commits RTR.
Yeah, boy.
So
read that.
God is good.
Uh-huh.
Combine invite, graduation, Cliff commits. It's all in there. So 50-50 50-50 is the thing there.
Yeah, if he had gone roll tide before God is good, I think that's favor Alabama right there, right?
God is good. Family time, roll tide's after God.
Yep.
Family time is after roll tide. Combine's after family time. Graduation's after combine. Cliff commits is after graduation.
Covering all them bases right there.
Yeah, so that's from the dad of Mark Sears. But if Mark Sears comes back, the guys at Field of 68 and others are saying it comes down to Alabama or Kansas as who starts the year or should start the year off as the number one team in the country.
Yeah, that's wild to think. And
can I point out the last time Alabama started number one?
Did they start with number one in basketball?
I thought they did the year with Ronald Still. Did they not?
They reached a number one. I don't believe they started there. They reached number one, and then they lost quickly, if I remember correctly.
I think they reached number one, never won a game as number one, and actually went on a pretty hefty, not good ending.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look, but they lost pretty quick once they hit number one. But they did reach number one. I don't think they've ever started number one in basketball.
That was my point, though. Yeah. And Still, I think, ultimately got hurt that year, did he not?
Yeah, I mean, it did not, as Jim said, it did not end well. That year, they did not end number one, which is where you want to end.
Yeah, I think if Sears comes back, I think they will start the year number two.
Yeah, I'll give it to all the Alabama fans out there who, after we tweeted it out yesterday and gave a little thought about and asking, is it the best assembled roster in Alabama basketball history, top to bottom, all 13 spots? And a lot of you said, yes, it is. Most talented roster, top to bottom in Alabama basketball history. And then they said, but that guarantees you nothing. And in basketball, it does not guarantee you anything.
Yep.
I have seen now Sears in the first round of a mock draft.
Oh, have you? Mm-hmm. That's a bit of a game changer.
Yeah, that would keep me in the draft if I was a first round.
Yeah, I mean, like, you completely understand, but I think it is such a risk because I said this last week. I think it will probably now get drafted with all of the feedback he is getting, but I still think it's going to be in the second round. But if he believes he's going to go in the first and he slips in the back into the first, then it's worth it.
That's a guaranteed contract.
That's a guaranteed contract.
First round picks get guaranteed contracts.
That is right. Second round do not, and that's where NIL is a game changer for basketball teams because you can convince a guy. Look, I mean, you're second round right now, right? You're not going to hurt that by coming back to play. All you can do is help that. All you can do is play your way into the first round.
You think so?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're second round, the odds of you making an NBA roster are what? Give me a percentage.
25%.
25%. You got a 1 in 4 shot.
Well, I'm just saying you can't hurt your draft stock.
Not really.
Back.
I mean, you've got a 25% shot at best.
Injury.
If that's right. Yeah, but you're getting paid. That's the key. So the way you balance that is you say, all right, you've got maybe a 1 in 4 shot of getting drafted. I think that's probably generous. 1 in 4 shot of getting drafted. And if you don't get drafted, you get $0. You come back here, you get whatever that dollar amount is. And really, what are you hurting? You've made money. You've got guaranteed money here. Are you really hurting yourself to come back and play another year?
It's a deeper roster.
And that's
the thing. You made it to the Final Four. You're on everybody. If you don't make it to the Final Four and you end up maybe not having the same numbers as last year, your stock could actually go down. Not that I'm trying to talk Mark Sears out of coming back, but
I know this is different.
But if your stock goes down,
one of the bigger appeals with Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. was how much experience they had coming into the league. Sears, if he does go, he's probably going to get drafted by a team that's got a veteran point where he gets to learn. His minutes probably aren't going to be great anyway if he comes out. I mean, I would take the close to $1 million, come back, maybe win a championship, and try to build into a first-round guy. Because, again, there's no 5'11" point guards right now in the NBA.
But my point is, you say your stock may go down. You're not in the NBA either way.
Yeah.
At least you made another $1 million to play here, whereas if you roll the dice and you go and you don't get drafted, you're going to go play in the G League for $60,000 or you're going to go play in Europe for $500,000. We're offering you more than that to play here.
Was it May 29th? Was that the number you came up with?
Yeah, I think May 29th and
the
Combine is next week. So you'll have some time between the Combine for him to get that honest feedback.
Yeah.